Hey everyone, it's Elizabeth. So today's video is going to be my take on a Cowgirl pinup where I show how I did my hair, makeup, and costume suggestions. So the night before I just washed and conditioned my hair and put a leave-in conditioner and styling cleaner in because my hair is naturally curly and prone to frizz and dryness. Then I'm using magnetic rollers, so I'm just taking my damp hair and combing through it with a tangle teaser or comb, whatever you have on hand, sectioning off the front bit where my bangs would be if it was cut, and placing the roller on top of my hair and rolling back away from my face and just clipping it in. I'm using the smallest size roller for this bit, and I'm doing that all the way around my front of my face. Now you could use pin curls, hot rollers, foam rollers, curling iron, put your hair in braids, leave it in ringlets, however you want to do your hair. I just want to go for a traditional kind of pin-up style like you would see in the art that I was working off of, and I like these because it's less damaging and it really gives an enduring curl. So it's very malleable and it will set once it's done, and I just sleep in them. Not the most comfortable thing in the world, but for the purposes of once or twice a year or more, I can live with it. I would recommend though making sure that the pins are as tight as possible, because the looser the curl is, the messier it will look, the less it will set, and the more likely it is that it will fall out while you're sleeping if you're sleeping in these. Then I took the next largest roller and rolled it so the curler is underneath the hair, and I'm wrapping around that way. Again, pinned it in, and I used just the third largest roller for the rest of my hair underneath that. So about 3 levels of 3 sizes. That is what it's going to look like after you take the rollers out. I'm using a traditional bristle brush because I'm a traditionalist and I like the effect it gives, but obviously you could just use a comb or brush to brush it out as well. And this, as I said, these curls are very malleable and enduring. They will reset once you've molded them the way you want. I'm just finishing my hair with a little bit of shine spray. You could hit it with hairspray if you need to, but my curls last about 3 days in this. Now, these are some of the images I worked off of. I love Gil Elvgren's design. I love his art. So my makeup is actually inspired by his art, not just makeup, but as the art, the way he was drawing it. I kind of tried to do my makeup the way it would look in the picture. So I started out with a color correcting cream for underneath my eyes, and I'm just using an eyeshadow brush to brush that on underneath my under eyes. I have very dark circles naturally because of genetics and bad habits, so I'm covering those bad boys up. Taking the same brush and a stick concealer, full list of products will be listed down below, I am just going on top of the color corrector to truly try and cancel out all those dark shadows underneath my eyes and make it very light and bright under there. This is not what I would call like the modern Instagram highlight, but it is going to brighten it. Different brush, a little more dense and round, same concealer. I'm just going to take that over any redness I have in my face, any blemishes. Obviously, if you're more comfortable wearing foundation, go ahead and wear that. I just didn't feel like it, and I rarely wear foundation anyway on a day-to-day basis. I have quite a lot of redness around my nose and chin area, so that's where I'm focusing most of the product. And I did have a few blemishes that day. Most people do, unless you're, awesome and don't have it, which lucky you, I do. Then I'm going in with a neutral kind of mid-tone, slightly cool brown shadow to darken up my eyebrows. I'm just using an angled brush. This is fairly thick for an eyebrow brush, actually. I'm not really trying to draw on brow hair so much as just thicken my brows up and give them a little bit more color and definition. I'm not really sketching them in, and I'm just using a spoolie to comb that product through to make it more evenly dispersed. Then I'm just taking a little bit of a fairly translucent powder and setting my under eye concealer, and anywhere else I have applied concealer around my face. I'm just using a tiny little brush to do that. I think it's actually a quote-unquote a bronzer brush. Then I'm taking an eyeshadow primer. I really love eyeshadow primers. They make the eyeshadow go on so much more smoothly, so much more pigmented, and last so much longer than it would otherwise. I'm just applying that from lash line all the way up to my brow bone as a base for the eyeshadows I will go in with. And then I'm going in with a fairly light, really, neutral brown with a slight hint of a pinky orange tone. I'm taking that as my transition color, so from about the crease almost to my brow bone. I'm just kind of swirling around that area with a fluffy crease brush, not being too precise. It's a very forgiving color. Then I'm taking a matte cream eyeshadow on a flat shader brush and applying that all over my eyelid as well as my brow bone. This is my base for the rest of my eyeshadow. You could leave it here with all mattes. I did go in a little bit of shimmer because if you look at the drawings, there's actually highlight drawn in with the art, so I'm using highlights and shimmer with the makeup to replicate the art. Same thing here, but it's doing it with a shadow rather than highlight. I'm using a cool mid-tone charcoal gray, and I'm just taking that on a crease brush and sketching it through my crease from about the outer portion almost all the way to the inner tear duct, and I'm taking the same fluffy crease brush and blending out. Again, I'm just trying to draw in shadows like you would if you were actually drawing a picture. Then I'm taking a mixture of that original light brown and the gray, and I'm running that on the same crease brush along my lower lash line very softly. You'll barely even see it at the end, but it does open the eye up a little bit more and again kind of cast a natural looking shadow. Then I'm taking a black liquid liner. This one has a felt tip. I really like using these for liquid liners. And you could draw an extreme cat eye if you wanted, a very thin one. I kind of went somewhere in the middle. It's not very cat-eyed, but it does have a slight lift. And again, very traditional for this look. I'm running out of breath. Then I'm taking a little baby highlighter, and this one has a slight golden champagne sheen to it, and I'm going to dust this across my brow bone again to add some of that highlight as you would see in the artwork. And I'm just using a little fluffy crease brush again. It's very soft and it will kind of cast the shadow in a very diffused manner. Then I'm taking a little bitty mascara to coat my eyelashes. I like this mascara. It gives you a very wide-eyed effect, and it has a little ball tip at the end where you can comb through once you've gone horizontally back and forth, wiggled from root to lash, tip of the lash. You can take it vertically as I'm doing here, and it'll help lengthen your lashes a little bit more as well, and it also really gets in the inner and outer corners. Then I'm taking a lash fan. This thing is amazing for making your eyelashes more defined and open. Love that thing. I'm also coating my lower lash line very lightly. This is not a lower lash line heavy look, but I didn't want my eyes to look kind of closed. Then I'm taking a very cool matte pink blush, and I'm absolutely loading my brush up an insane amount. I'm just using a typical angled blush brush. Yep, still loading up a product. If you look at the art I was working off of, their cheeks were very, very intensely colored. Usually a darker color than this pink, to be honest. A very reddish orange color, and a lot of times are brown based, sometimes pink, but definitely matte for the beginning. And then I'm taking a kind of chunky fan brush to blend out the edges. Then I'm taking just a art shop brush. You can kind of see the shape here. It's very loose at the ends and it's a little bit tighter near the ferrule. I'm going back in with that same highlighter and dusting it across the tops of my cheekbones. This fluffy brush will give, again, a very diffused glow. You can see here how shiny it's going to start to look. I also took that same highlighter across my cupid's bow, chin, nose, between my brows, yada yada. Then I went back in with the same small fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I applied the highlighter much more intensely right kind of below the outer corner of my eye. And then I am wiping off the lip balm I had on with a Q-tip and lining my lips with a darker red lip liner. This is an old trick. Marilyn Monroe used to do a far more intensive version of this. If your edges are darker than the inside of your lip will naturally look more full. So I'm just sketching in around the edges and lightly bringing it down, but I'm leaving the center of my lips completely bare of product for the moment. Again, this is all traditional art. Then I'm going in with a clean lip brush, and I'm just going to soften the edges. This is not a 90s lip liner defined, it's just to cast a darker color towards the edge, so I'm blending it down, kind of like an ombre gradient effect. Then I'm taking a slightly lighter red lipstick. This is glitter free, but it is not 100% matte. You could do a matte if you prefer. And I'm just taking the same lip brush and applying that. Now you could go back and forth and do the whole hog of apply and blot, powder and set the darn thing, but I never find that to be overly necessary, and it kind of annoys me, so I'm just skipping that. But if you want to go for the whole 9 yards of applying red lips, knock yourself out, blank it out with foundation before you apply the lip liner, go to town, look at Pinterest. I'm not doing that. Then I'm just topping it with kind of a brownish red lip gloss, but it looks far more red once you applied it over the red lipstick, because the lips in the artwork were very glossy, also very traditional kind of Marilyn Monroe. There is the finished makeup look. I think it's super classic and super easy and very wearable for work, and you just amp it up afterwards. Now the costume I threw together, I just took a vintage leather skirt, little cowboy boots, a hand-tooled stamped leather belt, kind of my gun belt, a gingham shirt, a denim vest, a silk bandana tied around my neck, and a cowboy hat. Now if you don't have these exact pieces, go to town. You could swap out the vest for leather, the shirt for denim, you could put leather pants on, you could put jeans on. You can go to town. You can go for more of a Toy Story look and put your hair in braids with jeans and leave the vest off. It is open to interpretation if you didn't want to go all the way towards Pinup Girl. Or you could go even harder core than I did with like a little fringe skirt. Have fun, make it your own. Tweet or send me pictures or tag me on Instagram, whatever you do, and I'll like and favorite. Love you guys. Bye.